I'm Steve Chang. I've been an employee benefit specialist dealing with small business owners and individuals for 34 years. My background's financial planning. We have about 1,500 to 2,000 clients, quite a few individual and small group clients. Um, do I think Obamacare or the Affordable Health Care Act will reduce costs for employers or individuals? Um, yes, it will. For this particular law, if you earn, for example, for one person earns between $16,000 and $46,000 of income, you'll get a tax subsidy and your health insurance plan will be increased, boosted up to be a better plan. For those individuals, it's a great deal. For everyone else, if you make above that money, you're going to pay full price, and the prices are higher than what we've sold in the past. That's the one main complaint. We have clients, basically, who are considering not covering themselves on health insurance because of the cost of the insurance. So if you just make a bit above $46,000, you're paying more money for maybe not as good a plan for yourself, and that I don't think is going to help the economy or the general population. Employers are paying more money. You're seeing anywhere from 10% to 45% increases on employer small group health plan, and we have to deal with that on a daily basis. The rollout of the Affordable Health Care Act, aka Obamacare, has been a really botched program. In California, they chose to develop their own website, which was better than having the national website, which is great. But still, it's had problems. So starting from October 1st to December 31st, they had 3 months to gather applications, for example. And they had glitches, had problems. So for all 3 months, they took applications, and their job was to accept people, charge them a fee with a tax subsidy so that people ever got smaller costs to pay, and then relay that information over to the insurance carriers: Blue Shield, Anthem Blue Cross, Kaiser, HealthNet, Western Health Advantage, Chinese Community Health Plan, all sorts of different, there's 12 carriers. And they couldn't get that information out till the very last week of December. So therefore what happened was every carrier for a week, within a week, had to send out probably a couple million pieces of paper, setting out bills, payments due, and send out ID cards, contracts, and make them sure that they're on the computers. So here we are, today's January, the 29th, and 29 days later, we're basically still dealing with all the problems for a January 1st start date. And so people are just calling us every day, still figuring out, where's my ID card, is it paid? They go to the pharmacy, they collect stuff, it's not paid, they're getting turned away from doctors and hospitals. No, it is not a good system. Overall, it's really been botched. I don't know how many other ways they're going to botch it up, but it's really bad all the way around. It's in its implementation. Concept wise, great concept, but the implementation, it's just absolute failure in that regards. Another reason it was botched about Obamacare and the implementation in the California side anyway. Early on, the internet didn't take and had issues taking online applications. So Cover California basically asked all the brokers to fax in, take paper applications and fax it in. I said, this is great. We can do that. But sort of in the last week of November, they told us, don't even bother. We can't handle it. There's too much of an overload. So we're not going to enter those applications. And so all the clients that we work with weren't going to get coverage for January 1st. So here we are, every broker in the world. They gave it, at that point in time, after they couldn't handle it, then they figured out the insurance agents could help them. So they gave us the ability to enter in applications for our clients. So that was the only time they really wanted our help. So we weren't planned to be part of the process. It wasn't originally done. We were put in the last second, but as agents to be working with the system. So we are in the middle of it, and most of my family can attest that we were working to midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, entering applications, making sure everything was put in so that they'd be covered for January 1st. It was just a nightmare time-wise. We pretty much missed all of Christmas. Sure. If the question is, will Obamacare, Affordable Health Care Act last? Of course, it's a federal law. People do not take away federal laws. It's just not done. You won't take away Medicare. You won't take Medi-Cal. You won't take Social Security away. It's a public benefit social program. It's not going to be done. However, what you're going to see is that in the law there was President Obama and the Congress did not think it thoroughly through because the prices are still going to go up. The costs for medication, doctor fees, charges, all those things are still going to go up. You know, every year you're going to see 10% or more increases in the premiums.
Why?
And so it's just uncontrolled. There are no, and you ask me why. There are no laws, rules, mandates charging cheaper costs for doctors to take cheaper costs, hospitals to rein in their costs. Pharmaceuticals do not have any rules saying, yeah, we can charge you a lot. We have to charge you a lot less. For example, in this country, if you're dealing with a medication, they can charge whatever they want for 16 years to recoup their research. That's just it's patented, trademark. It's their name brand rules. But in other countries for name brand drugs, if the country says, "Oh, it's too expensive. We're not going to let you enter that drug to be sold in this country," all the drug companies basically lower their fees. Not in this country. The United States wants to encourage big pharmaceutical companies to do business in the United States, to do all their research, but they also let them charge as much as they can to recoup that research in America. And that's why our drugs costs are so much higher. And that's why all these people buy drugs through the internet, through Canada, for legitimate medication sold to Canada and sold, sent over there and sent back to the United States at a much like 1/3 the cost normally. Okay.
I've researched that Obamacare says that Medicare members will get a drug, like a discount on drugs now.
For the seniors, they have this thing called a medication program done by President Bush #2, George W. Bush. In 2006, there was this thing called a donut hole where the consumer would pay about $1,700. It was called the donut hole, and about $1,700 out of pocket, sort of in the middle of the program. And its purpose was to stretch out the cost of the program so that it would last for every senior. He didn't quite get President Bush did not quite get enough money to make it without that donut hole. So he imposed this donut hole to stretch the dollars, and that donut hole is slowly being shrunken over time in the next 10 years. But also, he made a deal with pharmaceutical companies that name brand drugs in that donut hole they were going to get half off, and generic drugs were going to get 7% off. And that was the only deal they made for pharmaceuticals. But that's a drop in a bucket. For people accessing the Cover California website, if you spend some time dealing with it, it's okay. It's educational. The problem with that is, much like most people who turn 65, the Medicare rules and regulations have been out since 1992, have been pretty standardized. It's confusing. Typically, if you get stuck on one or two items, that you pretty much get stuck and you don't go forward. And that's the same thing with the new Cover California, the Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act. Once you get stuck on it, you stop basically, and that's been the problem. I'd say about 95% of the people calling in for this, they're just not trained to look at brochures and understanding healthcare, and that's where we come in. Unfortunately, the Cover California law, the Affordable Health Care Act, doesn't really take into account insurance brokers. In fact, they pretty much want us out of the business. They don't pay us accordingly, and nor if we help you sign up on the Cover California website, it's quite a chore to make us your broker. It's quite an involved process. When people don't normally do that because it's like a 4, 5, 6 page process in the web screens to get us, and it's not that easy. So we're being phased out eventually. So we understand it, and I think the future of Obamacare it'll still be there, but I think in 4 or 5 years, and I think this may have been by design, is the Democrats didn't really do it properly. The cost controls are still going to go on. At 10% clip, the rule of 72, your health insurance premium, whatever you're paying now, it's going to double in 7.2 years. If you increase rates by 10%, the rule of 72 is if you divide the interest rate by 72, it's how many years. In this case, 7.2, it will double. So figure, it's going to double in 7 years. I don't know what people are going to do. It's pretty expensive now, and I think it's unaffordable. I think in about 4 or 5 years, you're going to see grumblings of a national health care system, much like every other industrialized country has a national system. I think this will be the trend, very similar to the Canadian system. Um, the people who are going to benefit from Cover California or the Affordable Health Care Act will be those earning a little bit less money. For example, if you have for one person, family of four, if you make less than $94,000, you'll get a tax subsidy and possibly a better boosted, a better plan. The government, I read somewhere, realized about 25% of the overall population will benefit by this program, which is a tremendous amount. And it's probably one of the biggest social welfare income redistributions in ever in the United States. They estimate that everyone getting this is about a 6% increase in their income. Not that you can spend healthcare costs, but it'll help them. And so it's a big change. Getting back to that, and I'd say about so for example, we have about 1,500 clients, and we've helped about 110, 130 people get subsidies. So that's a pretty big chunk of change, considering we deal with clients in San Francisco and Marin County, and it's both these counties are fairly well off in regards to the rest of the country. So that's indicative of how it affects people without any with income and without. So you're going to see a lot more middle class people moaning and groaning about this, and a lot of them have their health insurance premium doubled for the year, and they're complaining. They're not happy campers. I do see a lot of people understand this is a great way in which to help people get health insurance, but also they have to understand it affects them because you're paying for the rest of the world. What happened previously, before January 1st of 2014, if you had health issues, if you were taking too many meds, if you had cancer, stroke, auto accident, you were not going to get individual health insurance, and you had to rely on secondary things, and it was more of a hassle. Now, all you have to do is sign up for whatever plan you want, but because of that feature, and the law says nobody can be denied health insurance, everyone who's paying for these new plans are paying more money to help people get health insurance, and that's what's going on.